Choosing a new water heater often feels like a decision that should be simple. You pick a size, get it installed, and enjoy hot showers. But when you're standing in the aisle or browsing online, the choice between a 40-gallon and a 50-gallon model suddenly feels more significant than it looks. It's not just about 10 extra gallons, it's about the rhythm of your household. It's the difference between a peaceful morning routine and a frantic race against a dwindling supply of hot water. This decision touches on comfort, budget, and even the layout of your home. Let me explain what really separates these two common sizes so you can figure out which one truly fits your life, not just the space in your utility closet. Capacity and household size. Here's the most straightforward starting point. How many people live in your home? A 40-gallon water heater is generally the go-to for smaller households, typically accommodating 1 to 3 people without much issue. If your daily routine involves staggered showers and you aren't running the dishwasher and washing machine at the same time, someone is in the bathroom, a 40-gallon tank is often perfectly adequate. It's built for moderate, predictable usage patterns where demand doesn't spike unexpectedly. For 1 or 2 people, it's almost always the right call, providing plenty of hot water for daily needs without paying to heat water you won't use. The 50-gallon tank, on the other hand, is designed for the dynamics of a larger or more active household. Think 3 to 5 people, all with their own schedules. This is the size where you get breathing room. It's for the family where 2 people might need to shower around the same time in the morning, or where a load of laundry is running while you're washing dishes after dinner. That extra 10 gallons acts as a buffer, absorbing the higher demand without leaving the last person in the shower with a blast of cold water. It's not just about the number of people, but the concentration of their use. If your household's hot water needs frequently overlap, the 50-gallon capacity provides a crucial reserve that prevents shortages. First hour and recovery. Now, let's get into the technicals that really matter. The most important metric to understand here is the first hour rating, or FHR. This number, printed on the water heater's yellow energy guide label, tells you how many gallons of hot water the unit can produce in a single hour of high usage, starting with a full tank. A 50-gallon heater almost always has a higher FHR than a 40-gallon model from the same product line. This is because it starts with a larger reservoir of hot water, so it can deliver more before the burner or heating elements have to work hard to catch up. That higher FHR is your best defense against running out of water during the morning rush. The other side of this coin is the recovery rate. This is how quickly the heater can raise the temperature of fresh cold water to your set temperature after you've used a significant amount. While the tank size gives you your starting reserve, the recovery rate determines how quickly that reserve is replenished. Gas water heaters, for instance, have a much faster recovery rate than electric ones, regardless of tank size. So a 40-gallon gas heater might bounce back faster than a 50-gallon electric one. However, when comparing 2 models of the same fuel type, the recovery rates are often very similar. The bottom line is this: the 50-gallon tank gives you a bigger buffer to begin with, which means the recovery rate becomes slightly less critical during that first hour of peak demand. Cost to purchase and install. Naturally, budget is a major factor. A 40-gallon water heater will almost always have a lower sticker price than its 50-gallon counterpart from the same brand and product tier. The difference can range from $50 to a few $100s, depending on the model and any ongoing promotions. If your budget is tight and your household size fits the profile, the 40-gallon option is the more economical upfront choice. Installation costs for a 40-gallon tank are also typically straightforward, as it's a standard size that fits in most existing spaces without modification. The 50-gallon unit comes with a higher initial purchase price. Beyond that, you might face slightly higher installation costs. Let me explain why. A 50-gallon tank is not only taller, but also often wider than a 40-gallon one. If you're replacing an older 40-gallon unit, the new, larger tank might not fit in the same footprint. Your installer might need to reconfigure plumbing lines, expand the platform the heater sits on, or even modify the surrounding space to ensure proper clearance for ventilation and service access. These adjustments add labor and material costs to the final bill. However, if you already have the space, the installation cost difference can be minimal, making the price gap much narrower. Operating costs and efficiency. It seems logical that a bigger tank would cost more to run, and to some extent that's true, but it's not as simple as you might think. All new water heaters have a Uniform Energy Factor (UEF) rating, which measures their overall efficiency. Within the same product family, a 40-gallon and a 50-gallon model will often have nearly identical UEF ratings. The real difference in operating cost comes from something called standby heat loss. This is the heat that escapes through the walls of the tank while the water is just sitting there, waiting to be used. A larger tank has more surface area, so it will naturally lose a bit more heat. However, this is where your usage patterns become critical. If you have a family that regularly uses the capacity of a 50-gallon tank, the energy cost difference compared to a 40-gallon tank that is constantly struggling to recover will be negligible. In fact, forcing a smaller tank to work overtime can be less efficient. The real waste happens when you install a 50-gallon tank in a one-person household where much of that hot water just sits and cools, requiring energy to be constantly reheated. The bottom line is to match the tank to your actual needs. An oversized tank wastes money through standby heat loss, while an undersized tank wastes it by constantly running to keep up. Space and fit. This is a practical constraint that can make the decision for you. Water heaters need to be installed with adequate clearance on all sides for safety, ventilation, and future maintenance. A 40-gallon tank is typically shorter and has a smaller diameter, allowing it to fit more comfortably in tight utility closets, small basements, or alcoves. Its more compact size makes it a much easier replacement for older, less efficient units that were often smaller. A 50-gallon tank requires a more generous installation space. You need to measure your available height, width, and depth carefully before you even consider this option. Remember to account for the plumbing connections at the top, the temperature and pressure relief valve on the side, and the drain pan underneath. If upgrading from a 40-gallon model, you have to ensure the larger diameter won't block access to other utilities or violate building codes for clearance from combustible materials. Forgetting to measure can lead to a frustrating situation where the new unit is delivered but simply cannot be installed, forcing a costly return and a change of plans. Peak usage behavior. Let's put this into a real-world context. Imagine it's a weekday morning. In a home with a 40-gallon heater, the first person takes a 15-minute shower. The tank is now down several gallons, and the heating element or burner kicks on to start recovering. If a second person jumps in the shower right after, they are drawing from a depleted tank that is actively trying to reheat cold water coming in. By the end of that second shower, the water is likely turning lukewarm. If someone then decides to start the dishwasher, which uses hot water for its main cycle, you're pretty much guaranteed to be out of luck for a while. Now, picture that same scenario with a 50-gallon heater. The first shower uses the same amount of water, but it represents a smaller percentage of the total stored volume. The second person can take a full hot shower without noticing a drop in temperature because they are still drawing from the tank's ample reserve. The dishwasher can run in the background without causing a crisis. That 10-gallon buffer provides the flexibility to handle overlapping demands. It's the difference between scheduling your life around your water heater and having a water heater that simply works with your life.